Great. All right, welcome. Hello. I'm actually very excited for this. So, good afternoon. My name is Nav. This is our very first workshop series here at CORTEN. And I've been pitching this since the summertime, so I'm glad that we can at least get it started now. Show of hands, who meditates? Okay, like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Okay. Do we meditate daily for those of us that had some confidence in hands up in the air? So one person nodding yes, one person nodding no, which is fine. So here's a very simple question that I usually pose. And there's no wrong answer, but this will paint sort of a picture of how this conversation will go. If we can all agree that meditation should be a daily habit, what stops you from meditating daily? And there's no wrong answers. So there's an obstacle in the practice itself. Time distractions. How? We don't even know. Anything else? Can you? Interruptions, yeah. Right? It happens. Okay, so let's just work with those five, or just, you can add on to the list in your own mind. Time. How much time do you think you need to meditate? Half an hour. That'd be great. Honestly, to start, a couple of minutes. It's not that you're going to become a Buddha in a couple of minutes. You're not going to become fully enlightened in 2 minutes. But starting somewhere, and even if that's just a couple of minutes, is more than enough for you to work with. And so this almost like it's an obstacle that you put in front of us that doesn't really need to exist. We turn, what's the saying? You turn mountains out of molehills. Time. All you need is a couple of minutes to start. You'll eventually realize that if you can maintain a strong enough practice, that those couple of minutes aren't enough, that it feels good to sit for longer. But for some of us, especially as we're starting off, a couple of minutes is daunting enough. And so I really like to share, I still haven't bothered to look at which hospital it was, but there was an experiment done in a very major hospital in the States, and I've mentioned this in some of the classes before. And they tried the experiment with the emergency department. Emergency department, good luck getting 30 minutes to sit on your shift. You're working 14, 15 hours nonstop, going from one patient to the next, one emergency to the next. You're not going to get 30 minutes. So what they did was a very simple experiment where every hour on the hour, a bell would ring over the PA system. And what staff, nurses, doctors, admin, everybody else would be instructed to do, at your next possible opportunity, can you stop what you're doing and just take 5 breaths? That's it. Five breaths. Stop, pause, breathe mindfully, and then carry on. And what they noticed was, I'm paraphrasing some of the studies, but morale increased, mood increased, performance increased, all just off of 5 simple breaths. 5 breaths could be all the time you can afford on an hourly basis. In that environment, that's probably the most that they could afford. But if we can just take a step back to realize what 5 breaths can do. 5 breaths can give you the space that you need to let go of what has happened in the past hour. So if we think about the gravity of an emergency department in the hospital, of a major hospital in the States, there is a likelihood that for one of the nurses that just started off her shift, in the first hour, who knows, first 30 minutes, she dealt with an ER patient that died on the table. That's heavy, but that is reality. And then understanding that nurse may still have another 14 hours to go. So it's not to disregard the humanity of what has happened. Death has occurred, a loss has happened, but understanding that, who knows, maybe in the next hour, there may be 2, 3, 4, 5 more emergency patients that need your full attention. You can't just be half-assed in the emergency department. You have to be fully there to give your full undivided attention to the patients that are in front of you. So it's about learning how to create a little bit of mental space in that environment, that you can let go of the heaviness, the baggage, not disregarding it, not ignoring it, understanding what has happened, but then being able to be more present, more fully aware, being a bit more energized for the next hour at hand. And so for us, maybe we're not nurses, doctors, and all that kind of stuff, but I can probably reasonably assume some of us work at desks. We work with computers in front of our face. We're responding to emails. We're doing all this stuff all throughout the day. And if you're not working at a desk, maybe you're just busy, busy, busy throughout the day. And I make a joke to corporate people that I present to and corporate clients. Simple joke, but there's definitely a layer of truth to it because I was once there. If you spend your day writing emails, you probably then finish your day writing emails. And if you're unable to let go of your day, the last thing you do before you go to sleep, probably write an email here or there. And then you probably start dreaming about emails. Because you never let go. You never give yourself that space to say, this is the end of this one thing. Let me process it. Let me let go of it. Let me move on now so that I can be a bit more present to the next thing that I do in my day. So for us, as average people, why should we meditate and what good is it? There's another simple survey that was done. They asked like 1,000 people, would you rather sit quietly in a room by yourself, 15 minutes? No distractions, no phone, no nothing, just you in a chair sitting. Or would you rather receive an electric shock? More than 2/3 of the people said, give me the electric shock, let me be over and done with it. And I think that really paints a really sad picture that we've become, I don't know, very distant to our mind. And just the prospect of sitting and breathing as we do in meditation becomes so daunting, becomes so overwhelming that excuses are always there. You know, I made the video and, you know, it's to challenge the people that come to me and they're like, wow, Nav, like, you know, it seems like you're doing some really great work with this meditation business. You know, your workshop sounds like a good idea, but meditation's not for me. I'm too busy, my mind won't sit still. You know, I can't quiet down my thoughts, I can't stop them. Nav, how am I gonna sit cross-legged? I can't sit cross-legged. My knees ache, my back aches. I don't have enough time, I have kids to look after, I have too many responsibilities. And okay, not disregarding that, not denying that, but each one of those reasons are reasons that you should sit. In Buddhism, before you become enlightened, you have to wake up. And what are we waking up from? There's an idea that we're deep asleep. Yes, our eyes are open, yes, we're walking around, but we are deep asleep to our ignorance. We are okay with the fact that we've listed all of these excuses. And we're hoping, we're dreaming that, you know, despite these excuses, we'll find our peace, we'll find our bliss. But we're not doing anything about it. We're not waking up to the truth. So these people that mention all of their excuses, they can mention it, but there's a refusal to sit with it. It sucks to have to sit cross-legged for an hour. I'm not telling you that that's what we're going to do today, but for some of us, you've adopted a cross-legged seat. Afterwards, you're going to see it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, okay? Start adjusting. All these different adjustments are going to happen. It's natural. It's normal. Your body's not accustomed to it. It will become accustomed to it. When it comes to developing your own meditation practice, laying down, no problem. My main issue with laying down, I used to be much more strict around this. I don't mind so as much anymore. If we lay down, the body is very easily associating laying down with what? Sleep. So what started off as a beautiful meditation turns into a napitation. Napitation turns into snoritation. And then I feel bad because I gotta nudge you and I gotta wake you up. And so it does take a lot more, strength of mind to not fall into the drowsiness of your body, which is why seated does traditionally work best, whether you're seated with your back propped up against a wall, whether you're seated on a bolster as I am, whether you have blocks underneath your thighs or not. We'll talk more about this in the second half. In this first hour, I want to try to explain overall what meditation is and why you should meditate. Then we'll take like a 5-minute break. You can shake out your legs, go get some water, do something else. And then second hour, it'll be about how to meditate, how you can build a meditation practice for yourselves. We will practice a short meditation together, and then Q&A at the end. I guess just a little bit about me. I always forget to talk about myself and my journey. I understand that makes the whole experience a bit more relatable. Meditation-wise, I've been meditating for about 5 years now, I would say. I still have my good days and bad days. I'm not enlightened by any means in any shape or form. I can definitely say I've woken up a little bit, but I'm just a little bit more aware of all my neuroses. I still procrastinate from time to time. I still sleep in from time to time. I still do all the things that I've had, bad habits around. I do them a little bit less, but I'm at least a little bit more aware of when I do it. So I don't shame myself when I, sleep in. I enjoy it, whatever. It's great. I can at least be a little bit more accountable to myself. If I'm gonna decide to procrastinate, I'll question myself why. I think meditation has offered me that tool to, check in with myself time and time again in a way that beforehand meditation I couldn't. When it comes to my personal meditation journey, some of you know, on an annual basis, I attend a 10-day silent meditation retreat. It's known as a Vipassana, Vipassana, where for 10 days, you give up your phone. That's already a challenge enough for half of us. You give up your phone for 10 days. You then take a vow of noble silence. No speaking, no reading, no writing, no listening to music, no exercising. For the 10 days that we're at the center, food is provided for, your beds are provided for, the teachings that you're provided for, they're all free. But you're asked to wake up every morning at about 4:30. You go to sleep, lights are out at about 9:30. And you're sitting on and off for about, could be upwards of 10 hours a day. Low end, mandatory is about maybe, let's say 3 to 5. But then tail end, if you really choose to dedicate yourself for the time that you're there, 10 hours a day. And a lot of people go, nah, for 10 days, I could just never go without talking for 10 days. But that's not the hard part. As an only child, I've realized you never stop talking to yourself because you're always talking up here. And an experience like that really allows you to slow down, to really understand what is going on up here. And so the very first time that I attended this, while you're there, full vegetarian diet, you end up fasting between 15 to 20 hours a day. It just creates the conditions to have stronger meditation practices. It's not easy to meditate on a full stomach. Try, you won't have good success with that. But the very first time I went, I lost about 7 pounds. Now, physically and realistically, I understood 7 pounds, they left off the body, they'll come back. Once I go back to my lifestyle, start eating again, exercising again, that weight's gonna come back. But truthfully, how I felt after such a deep experience is that the weight was off my mind. That it wasn't the body that lost the weight, but I felt 7 pounds lighter to the ground up here. And all of us, we have some baggage up here. We can call it skeletons in the closet, whatever it is. But a lot of us have never done any work to even open the closet, let alone clean the closet. And so for a lot of us, when we start a meditation practice, the main thing I typically hear is, my mind was so much more quieter before meditation started. So I don't think meditation's working for me because now my mind's even louder. But it's like you're peeking into your closet. What do you expect? It's all dirty. So these thoughts are going to come up, these thoughts that have always been there, these aches and pains in your body that are always there. But because we're so busy from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, we never take a moment to actually check in with the thoughts, to check in with the body and its feelings. So there is an adjustment period when it comes to starting a meditation practice. So that's why, as much as 30 minutes would be great, good luck. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe more than enough time. And in those 5 minutes, you'd be really lucky if you can really find crystal clear focus for like 15 seconds. And that's one of the challenges of a meditation practice. No one's going to congratulate you for it. You know, we do our physical practices, we do our gyms, we do lifting weights, we do yoga, and we can celebrate one another in a different way. We see somebody do a handstand, we see someone do a crazy balance pose, we see somebody lift a lot of weight. Great, that's great, we can celebrate that. But it's really hard to find that same type of celebration when you're just sitting and breathing. Closing your eyes quietly, whether it's here, whether it's in your room, because it's a very selfish reason that you want to do it. And this is a really good kind of selfishness. So each one of us probably has a different reason why we're here. For some of us, just genuine curiosity. Some of us are looking for an answer of some sort. And for some of us, maybe you're just trying to build this practice that you feel a bit intimidated around. That's great. Selfishness is good. You can only be the best version of yourself to others if you end up taking care of yourself first. You have to put yourself first before anyone else. Otherwise, you can't be the best version of yourself because somebody else is always going to take precedent. And no doubt, at certain times in our lives, responsibilities, children, whatever that thing is, they do end up becoming a higher priority. But meditation gives you at least that opportunity that for at least 5 minutes, let's just use that as an example, at least for 5 minutes, you're there to take care of yourself. You're there to create peace for your mind. You're there to disconnect a little bit from all the noise, all the baggage. And that in doing so, you can be a better person for your loved ones, for your friends, for your family, for yourself. So, what is meditation? I've shared a little bit about my experience. I'll share a bit more if there's ever questions. On one hand, meditation is a tool. It's a really powerful tool to regulate your nervous system. We can go in that direction. Whether we know it or not, are we familiar with fight and flight? Like the idea, the concept of fight and flight? Whether we are aware of it or not, most of us place our nervous system into a state of fight or flight for vast periods of the day. Stimulation really creates a lot of that, phones being one of the main triggers for fight or flight. And we typically associate fight or flight with like that dangerous fear kind of response. But it's just the nervous system becoming quite overwhelmed. And so if we think about the phone as an example, let's talk about the concept of reels and TikToks and all that kind of stuff. So let's just go over a realistic minute of indulging on TikTok or reels, where like 10 seconds, you're seeing a dog. Then you swipe up, 10 seconds, you're somehow in the position of someone driving a car. You're seeing a reel on that, okay, you switch. Now you're half across the world. In the next reel, you flip, you see something horrible, you flip another reel, you see the top of a mountain. What this is known as is a contact switch. Your mind cannot compute how all of this is happening, so it's constantly trying to connect dots. Because 100 years ago, not even 150 years ago, in order for all of those experiences to happen, you would need to go out and do them. You wouldn't have the experience in the palm of your hand showing you this thing, that thing, this place, that place, good, bad, right, wrong, all of that. And it puts our nervous system into a state, it's okay. No, that's just that. And it puts our nervous system into a really dysregulated state. And then let's talk about all the other things that add on to that. stress and responsibility from work, all the emails that you got to do, all the job responsibilities you have, the bills you got to pay, the people you have to look after, the schedule that you've created that if you fall 5 minutes behind, you start panicking that much more. And so from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you're just doing. Then you get to the end of the day and you wonder why you're burnt out, but you barely did anything. Or you get to the end of the day and you're at a loss of, your body's tired, but you just can't go to sleep because there's a dysregulation in your nervous system. And so meditation, on one hand, becomes a very powerful tool to help you go to sleep, as some people use it, to calm down your body and mind enough, grounding, of bringing your mind into your body. Because most of the time, mind and body are in two different places. The last place most people's minds want to be is right here. Because this is boring, just sitting. The body is just sitting here. Mind can go anywhere. It's one of the really cool things about the mind, that it can go anywhere. That you can close your eyes and you can picture a good memory from 5 years ago where you were on a vacation on a beach. And all those feel-good endorphins can get brought into your body. But then you open your eyes and then there's a deep valley that you sink because you're like, oh, but I'm right here. And so we have to learn to then find the beauty of that same experience of being on a beach 5 years ago to just being able to sit right here. So as a tool, meditation is a great tool to calm down the mind, to relax the nervous system. That can help us in a ton of different ways. If you're preparing for a presentation, if you're preparing for a meeting, if you're preparing for something, calm down the mind. If you've had a busy day, relax the nervous system. Meditation can even help you early in the morning of just clearing out some of the excess baggage so that you can prepare for the rest of the day. So on one hand, a very powerful tool. And then we have to be really realistic. It is a practice. It is a practice in which your mind is always going to be changing. No two meditations can be the same, because no 2 days is your mind the same. And so we cannot get hung up on the success of yesterday's meditation, because there's no guarantee that yesterday's peace carries into today. It is your choice of how you respond to situations. And yesterday, maybe you had a great meditation. You sat for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and that 5 minutes breezed by. The body was content, it was calm, and maybe you decided you were going to meditate early in the day, and it worked out to your benefit. And then the following day comes, you have maybe you snoozed in through your alarm, and then you're rushing through the morning, and then you finally get a window to meditate, maybe towards noon or even later after lunch, and you go to sit, and all that restlessness is just seeping in your body. So what felt like 5 minutes feels like forever. Once again, that doesn't make the practice a bad practice. We can work with all the obstacles as they come up, but we have to understand what it is that we're doing. From a practice standpoint, we are developing two qualities that put together create mindfulness. So meditation and mindfulness is just an extension of our meditation benefits. Mindfulness allows us to take the lessons of what we learn from a meditation practice and apply it to our daily lives. So the two main components of a meditation practice, one, awareness. To be aware of what you are doing. And the two simplest building blocks that we need to be aware of is the fact that we are sitting, if we are sitting to meditate, or lying down, if we are lying down to meditate, and breathing. To be aware that you are sitting and breathing. That's it. We end up getting quite caught up in the weeds of those two things. And what I mean by that is if we spend a lot of time developing awareness without the other half, which I'll speak about, then I see quite a lot of times, and this is where that issue comes up, where we become hyper-aware. Hyper-aware to the point where it almost borders on paranoia. That you're sitting, and we'll use this as an example, I'm sitting, and my awareness, I'm noticing that I'm sitting and I'm breathing, I'm aware, I'm aware, I'm aware. And all of a sudden, my knee starts to make a bit of noise. Let's just say it starts to bubble up with a little bit of aching, a little bit of discomfort. Now, my mind becoming aware of that has a couple of choices. To stay with the breath, to acknowledge the fact that you're sitting. That would be the ideal route. But what ends up happening, the mind will start to give more and more energy to the ache. And so what started off as, let's just call it like a 2 or a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, your mind starts to get pulled more and more away by the ache. And within a minute or in a few breaths, what started off as a 3 instantly becomes a 9 or a 10. And then you start to react quite blindly. You start shifting the position. And then a few minutes later, because you lost your center of stillness or center and stillness, the other knee starts to ache. So then you move again. And then the knees are okay, but then the ankle starts to ache. And so we're just teetering and tottering because we're borderline paranoid about what we're feeling. So awareness needs to be complemented with equanimity. Has anybody heard that word before? To have an equanimous mind? So equanimity can be seen as mental balance. And how I can try to illustrate mental balance is right now we are sitting, and let's just call this, as we are right now, neutral. For some of you, this is even going to be labeled as good, assuming right now that as you are sitting, the body isn't making a whole lot of noise. It is relatively relaxed. The joints are loosened up. You don't feel any overt tension in the body. So let's call this neutral. Can you? Cool. Press the button one time. 30-minute recording clip, so I just have to make use of my technology limitations. So if we consider this right now a neutral state, as I sit to meditate, I am sitting peacefully for 5 minutes, watching my breath, watching my thoughts go by. And then out of nowhere, the knee starts to ache. And so my mind starts to drift towards the knee aching. Now, if we can understand, your knee is not trying to be malicious. It's not trying to hurt you. And in reality, what is being felt is not even necessarily pain. It is just a feeling. No different than like an itch on your skin. But because this is starting to maybe take more of your energy, your mind is starting to drift away. So you're losing the mental balance of just staying with breath. That was the ask. The ask was to sit and to breathe. And what was started off as sitting and breathing has now become you itching, you fidgeting, you moving, and we're losing that mental balance. If we can stay balanced from the start and maintain that sense of balance, we can build that momentum throughout a practice. But the moment one thing starts to take you off balance, it's very easy for other things to start taking you off balance. So, awareness and equanimity combined together create mindfulness, that you can be aware of everything that is happening, but the word that we would use is that we are not attached to anything that we feel. And it's hard, but there are 3 major tenets of Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist practice. And they really help when it comes to strengthening our sense of equanimity. They are known as impermanence, non-self, so a form of detachment, and then what would be labeled as like the law of suffering. So impermanence, let's just go back to ache in the leg. Impermanence would state that whatever has been felt has more or less come out from nowhere, and it will stay for a while, but it will eventually fade away. We can understand that to be true for other things, so we don't have to get involved. But let's just talk about a very simple and strong reaction that gets generated by something like an itch. An itch that surfaces on your skin, Before the itch has even fully surfaced, the arm is already acting on its own. You don't even need to tell your hand to do the itching. You feel an itch and instantly the hand starts to itch. And then let me share a personal story. When we sit at our silent retreats, at a certain point in time, we are asked that for the hours that we sit, and we're sitting quite a lot, that when we sit for our 1 hour group sittings, that we do so without opening our legs, opening our hands, or opening our eyes, without moving the body. And that's not to say itches don't come up, aches don't come up. All of that still exists. But if you can understand that it is the mind that does the reacting, not the body, then it's I can't say very, but it becomes easier for you to then work with your mind. The body simply feels. The itch is a feeling. The ache is a feeling. Aches and pains of the body are no different than thoughts and feelings of the mind. Let me say that one more time. Aches and pains of your body are in theory no different than thoughts and feelings of your mind. Why? This is a physical sensation. This is a mental sensation. They come into effect because, say we see something when it comes to mental. I see something I like. I see it with my eyes. I maybe smell it with my nose. I hear it with my ears. That sensation comes in contact with me. And then based on prior history, prior experiences, say it's a really good food, I can just look at the food and wow, my mind will start to generate all the thoughts around it. I haven't even tasted the food. On the outside, it may look great. Who knows on the inside? But the mind has started to stir. It's created a big tornado of good, bad, whatever you want to call it. It's creating a little tornado of sensation. I haven't even touched it. I haven't even gotten in contact with it. I just see it. And because of that, prior history, the smell, all of these things, the mind will start to stir. It takes you a little bit off center, not in a bad way, especially if it's something really good in front of you, but it's the same thing with the body. That is an external example. Internally, you're sitting to breathe. That's all we're doing. And out of nowhere, a person who you've never thought about for the last 5 years comes into your head. Where did they come from? We don't have to try to figure out that much. But if a thought has come up, you have one of two options. The choice is yours. Do you indulge the thought, or do you just let it go by? If we can acknowledge that while we are sitting for a meditation practice, that's all we are asked to do, then the hope is that you let go of the thought. Each moment of a meditation practice is so valuable if you can be truly there for it. But very easily the mind will slip away. So, you're sitting, you're breathing. It's not to say that we're trying to stop our thoughts. Good luck. I can't do it. I don't know how you can. Slowing down your thoughts is a very realistic goal to go towards. They say we think around 6 to 7 thoughts a minute. So let's just say 10 thoughts a minute. 6 times 10, it's a minute. If you could even cut that down to 9 thoughts a minute, your mind's still thinking, there's still a lot going on, but that's 10% more space to work with, 10% more energy that can go elsewhere. And then in the course of a day, how much more space can you create? It's a slow drip, but that dripping slowly will eventually fill up the bucket of mindfulness. So, show of hands, who has a tough time sitting quietly? A lot of people. Who, whether you know it or not, you go to sit somewhere. It's one of the things that I like to watch when I'm in public. You go to sit at a restaurant, how soon do you pull out your phone? within minutes. There's dead silence. You can't handle the silence, phone comes out. You're standing in line, Tim Hortons, Vereda, since that's right next door, any other coffee shop, or standing in line in general. How soon do you pull out your phone? Okay, go even deeper. You're at a red light. You pull out your phone. And we're not here to shame or judge. We're just here to acknowledge how mindless we've become. And I'm not, once again, saying mindless as a bad thing, but just as a matter-of-fact thing. And mindfulness isn't a practice that requires your time. At the start, sure, you got to build up a little bit of foundation, but it requires your presence. It requires intentional energy to put out into the world. That every second that you're looking down at a phone is a second that you are disconnected from the real world. And that is the same as being next to someone, but you're not really there, of listening to someone, but you're not really listening. So meditation, we're trying to use it as a tool to keep ourselves regulated, but to clear out all the baggage that we have up in here. And a lot of us, we got baggage. Like I said, skeletons in the closet, but we haven't bothered to even open the closet. And then what happens? We don't acknowledge that baggage. We don't acknowledge it. And then out of nowhere, we start getting burnt out. Fatigue sets in. The weight that's carried in your body or in your mind ripples down into your body. And so like I said, when I first went to my meditation retreat, my body lost the weight, yes, but how I felt was that the mind lost the weight. And for most of that weight, I feel still to this date that I've been able to keep off most of the weight. Do I know where most of that weight was lost? No, not really. I can probably attribute a couple of pounds. Like this pound was because I was able to let go of, my grievances towards this person or that person. I was able to, work with a little bit of the anger that I felt here or there. But a lot of the weight that I let go of, I don't know where it went. It was unconscious weight. Things that we hold onto that we don't even realize we're holding onto. And that is, once again, a result of, honestly, for some of us, it's just something that has happened in early life, childhood, teenage years, like a split-second moment of time that is probably still to this day carried itself to this day with you. It's created how you react to certain situations. It's created a personality of how you are. And I think we can all relate. There's probably somebody that you know in your life, and let's just say that they're a negative person. And that is just how they've presented themselves for a very long period of time. So what do we end up saying? Well, that's just how they are. That's just who he is, or that's just how they are. But that's really not true. That's how they became to be. From a series of experiences, from a series of habits, a series of blind ways of doing things, there's been a lifetime of experience that has created this person that you see today. And for sure, that person may need a lot more work to do to untie all those knots of anger, the knots of their misery, but there is every single possibility that that person can also create a little bit of peace. Meditation isn't just for yogis or meditators. I don't know what that means. It's for every human being. When I've gone to my meditation retreats, I'm the only yogi there. You have doctors, lawyers, engineers, bankers, people that have high-stress jobs, and then people that need it, that, I'm fortunate that I can place myself to work in environments where I can create a sense of mindfulness, where in a room like this, we almost forget that when we walk out the door, it's going to be blasting music and bright lights and, chaos of life. Here, it's almost like a soft space in which you can disconnect from the outside world, which is beautiful. But we also have to create that kind of bubble within us. A lot of us, we almost have other people programming our minds because of how much we consume. So we're told what to think, we're told what to believe, and it almost creates this dilemma of not even having an original opinion. And meditation, once again, that tool to just take a step back. I'm not disregarding that we have responsibilities, that we have stressors, that we have life to deal with, but meditation at least can be offered as a tool to once again create a sense of inner peace, that in this moment, while we are in this room together, when we close our eyes to sit to meditate, whether it's here, whether it's in your home, that for those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that if you can practice honestly enough, life is perfect. That there's nothing that you need to figure out in the 5 minutes that you sit to meditate. There's no problem you need to solve, but that you can just simply be. Like, let's just talk about people that are so enamored by like a sunset. These very sensational experiences that, they make us feel so good. Or you go to a concert, music is, let's just, whatever your artist of choice is. You listen to good music, you eat a good meal. These experiences that really grab hold of our attention, they feel so good. Maybe it's because the food was created by someone you love. Maybe the music that you're listening to is by someone you enjoy. Maybe the sunset you're enjoying is with someone you like. Who knows? These experiences that allow you to feel at peace, where you don't have to, why would you think about the bill you have to pay tomorrow when you're eating a really good meal? You can, but why? When you're enjoying a good sunset, using that as an example, what use is it to think about what happened yesterday? But we do this to ourselves. You're doing something and out of nowhere, something comes up. And you always have the choice to indulge or to detach, to take a step back. And meditation as that practice is telling us that we don't need to attach ourselves to everything. Does this make sense so far? Do we have any questions so far? Okay, we're all experts. Great. One of the things that I get asked a lot when it comes to a meditation practice is, like, how do I know if I'm doing it right? And I'll tell you personally, I meditated my whole first year not knowing if I was doing it right or wrong. I just listened to the instruction, close your eyes, sit, breathe. Every time you get distracted, come back to your breath. And I was like, God damn, I just keep getting distracted. Like, I just feel like I keep starting back from square one. I follow my breath for a minute, and then I have to come back. We can do very simple exercises, training wheel kind of exercises where, you inhale for 1, exhale for 1, inhale for 2 and 2, and you try to get to 10 without starting over, but a lot of us will just keep starting over. And that's okay. That is a part of the practice. And eventually, you build up a strong enough foundation that it's not about starting again, but just continuing. That if you are able to walk on the path of this meditation practice, that you have every possibility of just continuing that walk forward. And so, personal story here. The first year that I started to meditate, it got introduced to me by someone who I never thought would meditate. Other people tried to introduce me to meditation. I disregarded it. I don't need meditation. Who are you to tell me to meditate? You should go meditate, not me. I'm okay. I got my other practices. I got all this other stuff. My mind's fine. I don't need meditation. And one of my really good friends, he's an MMA fighter. He beats up people for a living. And he goes, I use meditation. And like dogs, how they like turn their head? I'm like, you meditate? Why? Why do you meditate? He goes, it helps me like deal with my anger and my like emotional problems. I go, but like, don't you want to be angry when you beat someone up? Like, I couldn't wrap my head around his reason for meditation. And so I said, okay, what do you use? What app are you using? Let me try it out. and downloaded Headspace. If any of you have tried Headspace, tried it out, went home, downloaded Headspace, put on like the introduction meditation is like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Sat for that 3 or 5 minute window, and like a 10-second window probably came up in that 3 or 5 minutes. And then this is where like full disclosure comes in. I've had use of psychedelics. And in that 10-second window, I felt such a high, such a clarity that can only be rivaled to something that was me under the substance. But here I was just sitting in my bed, cross-legged, hands on my lap, whatever. But I have such a state of mind in a 10-second window that the only thing that my mind could connect that dot to was me under the influence of heavy psychedelics. To me, that was a huge revelation. So many of us, we search for external means of finding peace. And the challenge with substances or other kind of thrills and things that we seek out is that most of the time they are short-lived. They offer us the benefit, they help us, but they do not stay with us. So we eventually have to hang up the phone. And then we're stuck. We just keep calling again and again and again. And here was me. Might have only been 10 seconds, but my mind was blown away by that. So I said, there's something here. And so I doubled down and I just kept practicing. I was fortunate enough, because this was during the start of the pandemic, I got in touch with a Buddhist monk. The West End Buddhist temple off of Kothra and the QEW. And once a week, this Buddhist monk, he hosted meditations outdoors. So I would go. You know, pandemic, you don't got anywhere to go, but thankfully outdoor. We would socially distant. He would talk for about 30 minutes, and then we would meditate for about 30 minutes. And still even after meeting him, I would keep practicing, but I still had no idea if I was doing it right or what I was trying to gain from it. Because I could feel like a little bit of peace, a little bit of quiet, a little bit of calm, but I was like, what is this all about? What is this supposed to teach me? Because if it's just this, like I'm like, damn, like this doesn't feel like much because I'm putting in so much time, so much effort. And then like one of the shittiest things happened in which, in which my closest work friend and colleague passes away from an aneurysm. 44, 2 young kids, overnight, gone. And once again, I'm an only child. I'm also a man. Men are horrible at working with emotions. Women a little bit better. And there is a part of me that was able to maybe see 2 possible timelines at the same time. That there was a part of me that was who I am now from a meditation practice that was able to actually work with the strong emotion, the loss of what I experienced, to process the grief, to process the hurt and all that in a very mindful way. And then at the same time, I could see a version of me who didn't have a foundation of mindfulness that would have spiraled really hard and out of control, suppressing, repressing, lashing out at things that didn't need to be lashed out at, all these things that would have just put me into a deeper hole of misery. So it was a very tragic experience, no doubt. But I was able to process that experience in a much different way than had I not had a foundation of meditation and mindfulness. And I think that was one of the very light bulb kind of experiences that allowed me to realize that there was something there beyond just me sitting and breathing. That there was something that I was able to make some space somewhere within me that could hold space for such grief. And then that really extrapolated the practice. There are 3 things that we are bound to experience: old age, sickness, and death. And in this society, we are asked to fear those things. So we chase fountains of youth. We chase cure-all treatments, and we try to find things that will prolong us. It doesn't matter who you are. old age, sickness, death. And this is not to start to, be pessimistic. This is just reality. And meditation on a very, very microcosm of a level allows us to work with these understandings at a very fundamental level, the rising and passing of a breath. On a grand scale, it's the rising and passing of our life. The breath comes in, it's the first thing that enters us when we're born. I've said this, it's the last thing that leaves us when we pass away. But we were never taught in school how to breathe. We were never taught in school how to process emotions. We were never taught in school how to deal with stress. So what do we end up doing? We just see how other people deal with their stress. And most people don't do a good job. They drink, they do drugs, they repress, they suppress, they ignore their problems, it manifests another way. That's not healthy. Meditation is a very healthy way of learning to deal with the things that we have going on inside of us. So it's not to say that, every single meditation is you going to battle with your mind of trying to, go through all the skeletons. No, that's not what we're trying to do. But we're trying to create space. I really like this garden analogy that I sometimes use. Meditation, I try to believe, is very heart-centered. It's about bringing the mind, which we typically associate as being up here, down here. And for some of us, a lot of us, down here, there's a lot of weeds. A lot of weeds, high weeds, tall weeds. Your garden here is very dirty, very messy. And so before you even think about planting flowers, flowers of love, compassion, goodwill, the flowers of peace and kindness, harmony, and whatever other good, positive qualities you want, you got to create space first. You got to create space by clearing out those weeds. And that takes some hard work. And that is the hard work that happens when we're starting off on the practice. The growing pains of, accepting that this isn't just a fix-it or a fix-all kind of solution, that this is you working with your mind on a daily basis. So today, I'm able to create a little bit of space. I'm able to create a little bit of space. But as space is being created, as weeds are being cleared out, you're starting to tend to the soil within yourself, the soil of your heart. You're replacing with good fertilizer, you're watering it, and then eventually little seeds will get planted, the seeds of love, compassion, goodwill, positivity, all that kind of stuff. And then who knows when those seeds will bloom. They will happen. We don't need to force them to bloom, but eventually you clear away enough of the gunk, enough of the weeds, enough of the garbage. You tend to the soil enough. You create the conditions for positivity to arise, and it will. I don't know if you do it. I don't recommend it, but you don't go out to your garden and start going, grow, 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 grow. It's not going to help. It's not going to do anything. All you can do, water, make sure that the flower, the seed gets good sun, and you take good care of the soil. So our meditation practice then, in theory, becomes a tool for us to take good care of ourselves from the inside, to create the conditions of peace, love, harmony for ourselves, and to be able to then share those qualities outwards with others. That's 1 hour. If we need a few minutes of break, do that. If you need to use the washroom, no problem. If you have a question, come up to me, no problem. We can cover it afterwards if you want, or just personally, one-on-one. And then second hour, I'm going to explain a little bit about how you can meditate, the actual building of a practice, and then we'll try to meditate. So if you want to use washroom or anything, yeah, go ahead. You don't need my permission. We're all adults. Okay, welcome back. I hope that 5-minute window was enough. Sorry you can't get your coffee just yet. So first hour, and one of the things you'll learn about me is, especially when it comes to talking about this kind of stuff, tangents are endless, so I do try to bring myself always back onto track, but I will go on tangents. But high level, it was trying to explain the what and why of meditation. The reason, the whys are almost endless. Just the busyness of our minds, the stress of life, the anxiety of the times that we live in. There's no shortage of reasons of why we should meditate. But that also becomes a very big obstacle for us because it creates that daunting experience. But then it allows us, the dauntingness of it might be eased a bit as we start to learn a bit more about what it is. Sitting cross-legged with your eyes closed and breathing, in theory, it's meditating on easy mode. And what I mean by that is that this isn't the same type of practice that you would then use when you interact in daily life. If someone is triggering you, in the middle of that triggering moment, you wouldn't be like this in front of them. And I always joke, we practice all of these yoga postures. But tell me, the next time you start to feel a panic attack set in, are you just going to go into down dog? Someone gets you really angry, are you going to go into tree pose? No, it's not practical. But what you are observing is how your mind is reacting to a situation. And the hard truth is that the problem isn't necessarily the problem. How you react to the problem is the real problem. So yes, of course, no doubt, somebody says something to you, and they say something negative, and we can all relate to this probably. A 5-second window of time. Somebody says something not nice to you, whether it was intentional or unintentional. Let's just assume it was unintentional. They did it out of pure ignorance. They just didn't know. They said something off-putting, sly-handed, just something that they should have thought about twice before saying. But whatever, it happened. They said it. 5 seconds, this experience happened. They go on living the rest of their day as if nothing happened. Gleeful, joyful, all that kind of stuff. But what happens to you? You can probably relate. That 5-second exchange has now created misery for the next 5 hours. And it's not to say that what they did was good, was nice, was any of that. But that is one of those experiences where the problem isn't the real problem. How we reacted to the problem became the problem. So if we had that sense of mindfulness, there's 2 ways to then approach it. If you have the ability to do so, and it's easier sometimes with strangers, that you could pause them in their track and just say, hey, what you said just then and there, I didn't appreciate it. It made me feel this sort of way, et cetera, et cetera. It's sometimes harder to do that kind of same experience with a loved one because you don't want to then make them feel bad. So you just end up holding on to it. But this is one of those situations where we have to be able to understand that meditation becomes that tool to create a little bit of space between you and what you feel so that you can see what you feel with a bit more clarity. So that you don't just become angry or hurt blindly, but that you can be a bit more aware and at least recognize what is being felt in your body and mind. Any questions from the first hour before we move on? Okay. When to meditate, where to meditate, how to meditate. Make it easy for yourself. That's what I can say off the top. Try to designate an area of your house, whether it's in your bedroom, whether it's in the living room, basement, wherever. Try to designate, create a space which you can consider your little mindfulness nook, your mindfulness area. It doesn't have to be lavishly decorated because your eyes are going to be closed while you meditate, so what does it matter? I've gone as far as to really silence the noise of my house to meditate in my closet. sit in the dark, close the closet door. Still going to be able to breathe, so there's nothing wrong there, but it's just the absence of distractions. I would recommend, but once again, these are personal recommendations and we can always work with them or without them. Music isn't necessarily necessary for us to meditate. Things like music, good smells, nice lighting, these tools that we sometimes use, they're helpful. They're helpful because they create an environment for us to feel a bit more calm, a bit more relaxed, a bit more peaceful. But my hope would be that you can still experience those same qualities of peace and bliss without those tools. So there are certain times, and I work with different groups of people. I work with athletes, and I work with this very high-level volleyball player. And he's still young. He's in high school. I believe he's in grade 12. Smart kid, all that kind of stuff. But I'm introducing him to meditation. And I have to also understand that he is an 18-year-old boy. So different mindset, different resources, different time. My bare minimum for him is that before each one of his practices, he has 2 practices, high school practices, which now may be done because high school season is over, and before his club practices, that he sits for 5 minutes to meditate. That's it. And he goes, Nav, is it okay if I listen to like brown noise, like white noise, brown noise, all that kind of stuff? And I go, for you, that's okay. I'd rather you listen to brown noise in the change room where he has, that's the only place he'll be able to meditate. I'd rather you listen to brown noise to meditate than for you to have to try to filter out all the noise of your teammates. What the heck's Alex doing? Why are his eyes closed? Why is he just sitting there? All of these chattering thoughts, because there's not many 18-year-old boys that are going to sit to meditate, because we only had 3 or 4 grown adults that put up their hand to meditate. So in that circumstance, brown noise, that additional tool to use to center your mind helps. I had another lady who's been meditating with me for well over a year. And just recently, due to her life, some more stress, more tension, she goes, my husband and I, we went for a walk and, we sat by the water. And that was the clearest meditation I had because like my mind just like drifted or like the thoughts drowned out into like the sound of the water. And so she goes, is it wrong if I, listen to ocean sounds when I'm sitting to meditate? No, it's not wrong. Now, my only suggestion for her is because I know that she's been able to do it without. So I go, you usually sit for 30 minutes. How long are you listening to the ocean? Like the sound. She said, recently, just the full 30 minutes. Okay, no problem. Can you try to go only 15 minutes? So start your first 15 minutes with the sound of the ocean, that ability for your mind to get settled and calm and all the conditions to arise for you to feel at peace. And then carry that forward into silence. That would be the hope. We don't need to meditate in hard mode. You don't need to go outside and listen to the sounds of traffic to meditate, sounds of construction to meditate. It's not to say you can't meditate. There is every possibility that you can find the same peace of mind here, for example, where we're quieted, where we're distraction-free. There's every possibility that the peace and contentment and the joy that you create from a meditation practice that can be found here can be found in any other turbulent situation. Requires a lot more effort because the mind is being pulled away a lot more, but there's possibility. And that is the cool thing about the mind. If we can work with the mind and if the mind can be harnessed, it doesn't need to be tamed. We don't need to force the mind to do these things. We need to learn to work with the mind, and we need to tap into our wisdom. For many of us, our untrained mind is like a 5-year-old child. And I like this example. We've probably all seen it, little child, happy as can be, running, 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 trips, falls. We, as the wise adults, look at the child, it stands up, maybe just a very soft scratch, nothing major. But the child may react as if the leg is broken and starts hysterically crying. And that is our mind. When we start to sit, we're breathing, we're feeling good, the body is soft, it's relaxed. And then an ache comes up. This ache that is relatively nothing can become so much for us. A thought comes up, a very heavy thought, a very busy thought, a very distracting thought comes up, and it has the power to pull us away from the moment. And it all depends on how we work with these distractions, how we work with these feelings, how we work with these thoughts. So, when you're meditating at home, highly recommend an area which is quiet, relatively speaking. Quietest that your household may be, if you have a full household, is probably early morning. It is also, for me, one of the best times to meditate, because that is the lightest that your mind will likely be throughout the course of a full day. So before you even leave your bedroom, get up out of bed, go use the washroom, wash your face, freshen up, make your bed, and before you leave the room, 5 minutes can be found there. It basically means you just wake up 5 minutes early, 10 minutes earlier. For most of us, that's manageable. Another possible window. You then work, and if you work a 9 to 5, a bit more approachable. If we have different kind of shift works, you have to be a bit more flexible. But potentially 5 minutes before a lunch break. So you did a busy morning of work. And so we didn't maybe use the opportunity of each hour to reset, but at least right before lunchtime, you sit for 5 minutes. Just an opportunity for you to center yourself on your breath, to just almost like you're draining a bathtub, just letting all the baggage of your busy morning, all the noise, all the emails, all the thoughts, all the responsibilities drain away into the bathtub. Water, boom, 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 gone. So that when it comes to eating your lunch, you can eat with a little bit more peace, that you're not rushing to eat, you're not rushing to do the next thing. It's very easy to rush, meditation teaching us to slow down. Another set of 5 minutes, end of your workday. Finish your workday, whether if you have to, nowadays, we have to now start going back to work. So before you start your commute back home, maybe you just sit 5 minutes in your car. Or maybe if you're working remotely at home, no problem. You turn off your computer, you find your spot at home, 5 minutes again. Potentially 5 minutes in the evening, whether it's after dinner, before bed. That's 20 minutes, cumulative throughout the day. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before lunch, 5 minutes after work, 5 minutes in the evening. For me, that is going to build a strong habit. What matters most when we're starting a meditation practice is the consistency of the practice. So I rather 5 minutes being a very arbitrary number, 3 minutes may be all you can afford, and every so often, maybe 5 minutes does work, and you have the window of time that maybe you go for 10. Never wrong to go for more. Meditation is a kind of practice that only benefits you the more that you choose to meditate. And then eventually, maybe you don't just wake up 5 minutes earlier or 10 minutes earlier, maybe it's 15, so that you can sprinkle more times. And you might be able to find additional windows of time to meditate. Like I said, at the very start of this, 1 minute was all that the individuals in the ER department were asked to work with. 5 minutes for us, for the average person, possible. Possible. How? How do we then meditate? Okay, I've found my space. I have created the window of time. How? I don't care if you sit cross-legged. I don't care if your legs are extended. I don't care if you lay down. Everybody's going to be slightly different. You want to position your body for success. So you want to be as comfortable as you can be without falling asleep, is what I want to say. So that if that means that your back needs to be up against a wall, if that means that you need to sit in a chair, no problem. If that means you got to do a little bit of a walk first so that your energy is a bit higher, do that. There are different styles of meditation. I won't cover them in this seminar here. I will do so in future. We will just talk about seated mindfulness meditation. Okay, so we've taken our posture, we've taken our seat. What are we trying to do? Keep talking about breath, breath, breath. What are we trying to do? The main thing that we are practicing is concentration. We are strengthening our ability to concentrate on one thing. Who thinks they're a really good multitasker? Okay, I saw this hand shoot up first. Okay, one second. Okay, can you recite the alphabet for me, A through J? Please do. Great. Can you recite the numbers 1 through 10? Okay, great. Now, can you go one at a time? A1, B2, C3, D4.
A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, F6. What comes after F?
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's all I need. Surface level at the top, you're able to fire, fire, fire. But as you get lower in that chain, the mind has to, what your mind is doing is, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5, F5, whatever it is. As much as we think we're great multitaskers, we're great switchers of tasks, which is what we're doing. And that is one of the simple experiments that I use to just illustrate that point. That your mind cannot be at two places at once. It has to keep alternating one through to the next. And that is where meditation is the challenge. We are concentrating on one thing and one thing only, and that one thing is the breath. I point here because most of us, as we will develop the practice, we will feel the breath as it enters and exits through the nose. If we lie down, we are able to feel a bit more of that sensation of the belly rising and falling, but we are following the breath. We are concentrating on the breath, concentrating to the degree that as we breathe in, we know that we are breathing in, we are feeling the breath enter through the nose, travel down into the body wherever. And as we breathe out, we feel the breath as it exits the body. We know that it is happening. That is it. There's nothing special about that. I'm not trying to paint it as something more than that. The practice is extremely simple. The challenge is definitely there. So what happens? Okay, I'm following my breath. What am I supposed to do with it? Nothing. You don't need to tell yourself how to breathe. You don't have to breathe in any special kind of way. All you need to do is be able to feel your breath. The first 3 days that I'm at my silent meditation retreats, that's all we're asked to do. Watch your breath. 10 hours a day, watch your breath. We start big, relatively speaking, because we're sitting. This is the surface area that we work with. Day 1, 10 hours. Feel the breath as it enters your nose. Feel the breath as it exits your nose. Nothing more, nothing less. Just feeling, just know it. Okay, I felt the breath coming in, going out, and I just keep watching. Thought comes up, okay, come back to the breath. Get distracted for a few moments, no problem, come back to the breath. Get distracted for a few minutes, no problem, come back to the breath. Get distracted for half your practice, no problem, come back to the breath. Doesn't matter if you get distracted. You do not become disheartened by distractions. That is where discipline will ask you to come back. And then day 2. Okay, you spent the first 10 hours figuring out how it felt to feel the breath entering and exiting here. Let's zoom in a bit more. Can you feel the breath as it touches the insides of your nostrils? 10 hours, go. Okay, another challenge gets presented. And I'm going very high level of just how these retreats go. 10 hours goes there. Day 3, okay, you've started to feel a bit more of the quality of your breath. Can you now map it out even smaller? The rings of your nostrils and this triangular base of your upper lip here. So this is all we're asked to follow for day 3. This small area here, very small. Starting big triangle, little bit smaller, and then here. And the sharpness of your mind to follow with a breath that subtle. It leads to something deeper, which I'm not going to bother explaining today because that's going to get into the nuance of a different style of meditation. But what we are practicing is mindfulness breathing. And the more we sharpen our mind, it's almost like we're using a microscope to tune the lens into something deeper. Something that's always there. This area, we can always be aware of it, just requires a lot of work. Which is why when we start our yoga practices, we start by feeling the breath down towards the belly. It's such a big sensation, gross sensation in terms of like surface level, not gross like ew, gross as in just big rising to the surface. This allows us to create that connection to breath in a way that we don't always connect to it. And then we can sharpen the mind to focus on breath up here. Concentration of mind. It's almost like if we're working, we want to have a mind that's so sharp, it's sharp like a steak knife. Not like a butter knife, which takes forever to cut through something, but a steak knife. Steak knife in the sense of sharpness of mind, that if a distraction comes up, that we're not taking forever to cut through the distraction to come to our breath, but that we can slice through the distraction, through the noise, to come back to our breathing. And I have to reassure you time and time again, because so many people, they're like, I kept losing sight of the breath. That's normal. Given the fact that most of us haven't meditated, we have a lot of work to do to get to where we want to be. It's not to say that we can't get there, but we have to show ourselves some compassion. This is a practice that will benefit you. Doesn't matter if you start late in life or early in your life, it will benefit you for your whole life. And that's something that I really think needs to be stressed. It's this, we can get into the nuance of this being a spiritual practice or something more than that. But the way that I like to think about it is that this is a hygiene practice. When was the last time you went without brushing your teeth? Okay, probably a while. Why do you brush your teeth daily? Hygiene. Keeps your breath clean, removes the dirt out of your gunk, the plaque, all that. But realistically, you could go days without brushing your teeth. You could still eat all the food you wanted. You could still talk. You can still communicate. That wouldn't change. But people around you would start to notice something's off. And I've talked about this before. It'd be your bad breath. Your bad breath would start to radiate outwards. And meditation can be seen as a hygiene practice to clean your mind of the plaque that builds up, the weight, the baggage, the noise that we carry. And 2 minutes. I mean, we're not brushing our teeth for hours at a time. Just brushing our teeth a couple of times a day, a few times a day, after a meal, whatever it is. Same thing with a meditation practice. It can be sprinkled in throughout the day, just as brushing our teeth has become such a daily part of our routine. We don't need anything special to meditate. I have people that tell me, I would like to meditate, but I just don't have the space. Well, what are you looking for? We don't need temples and monasteries. It'd be nice, but you don't have to go anywhere to be here, right? We can literally sit anywhere to meditate. You just need to honor that time that you are sitting for to make the most of 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And what we do when we meditate, just focus on one simple thing. And by focusing on that one simple thing, by sharpening your mind onto one simple thing, breath, my guarantee is almost that the next thing that you do post-meditation will be done with a bit more presence, with a bit more clarity, with a bit more of an open mind, unless you just go back on your phone, in which case you've ruined the practice. No. Any questions about that? The how to meditate, the where to possibly meditate, when to meditate? Yes.
When you're working with somebody, how do you know that the person is focused or is losing focus, and how do you help them to build on to their practice?
Like when I'm working with someone?
Yeah, the reason why I ask that is I'm sure in your practice you're also helping the individual to recognize that and learn how to do it for himself.
A lot of that would come post-meditation. In the moment, the main thing that we can bring awareness to is posture. And so I can see it. I'm asking people to sit comfortably. I place a lot of emphasis on this area here so that we can be long through the spine, open through the chest. This will just allow for breath to move smoothly. But someone that's maybe gotten a bit too relaxed, or someone that has tendency for bad posture, if we just work at a desk or if we work closed, what started off like this, and I've seen it, becomes this. And they're still like half meditating, but they are like having a fight for their lives to not fall asleep. And so that would be an opportunity for me to bring awareness to that. Check back in with your posture. In guiding you, I can guide for the whole meditation practice. That would be me being your training wheels. That each moment, each minute of a meditation practice, I am telling you. Watch your breath as it comes in, watch your breath as it goes out. Come back to your breath if you are distracted. Check in with your body if you're starting to feel tense. Find relaxation, find softness, etc., etc., etc. But then you'd be dependent on me. How would you then meditate if you were to be by yourself? You're like, where's Nav? Where's Nav? Where the challenge of the meditation practice comes from is your ability to then guide yourself. I give you the foundation to build on a meditation practice, and people come to me with their questions after and all that kind of stuff. But the real challenge of meditation is that you have to guide yourself through the practice. And that is the very daunting aspect of it. Community helps a lot. Guidance helps a lot. I'm not saying I'm a perfect meditator. I've just been doing it for a while. I've experienced the depths of what it can offer. I've experienced the benefits of what it can offer. And in that sense, I can show you the path that I've taken, but I cannot walk the path for you. That is where you have to believe in the tradition. You have to believe in the practice, that despite, the hardship of the practice, we don't necessarily want to meditate when, we feel down, because we don't want to sit with those thoughts. But in that sense, meditation may be used as a tool for you to just create a little bit of space from what is, plaguing your mind, clouding your mind. Each day has to be, taking ownership on yourself that you're going to sit to meditate. Good day, bad day, busy or not, I'm going to sit to meditate, because it's not just going to benefit me, it's going to benefit everyone that I can encounter. And so when it comes to that guidance aspect of it, today I'll be a bit more guided. Sometimes if you're sitting cross-legged, you might choose to have blocks underneath your thighs. That just allows the knees to be a bit more supported. If you wish to have your legs extended, that's no problem. If you wish to lay down, no problem. Great. So before we focus on breathing or anything of that sort, just take a few moments to check in with your body. If you wish to close your eyes now, no problem. If you wish to close your eyes in a minute or so, no problem. Just feel comfortable in your seat. So if you need to make an adjustment, that's okay. If you need to adjust your legs, your hips, your arms, or your legs, no problem. My hope is that you can create a little bit of an intention to have a strong determination, as it's called within the meditation practice, that the posture you have settled into, you will try your best to stay in that posture. If things do start to feel overwhelming, then no problem, move, but move mindfully. Move slowly, move with some compassion. Try not to feed the restlessness that may enter the body. You can take a few moments to check in with some of the common areas that carry tension. Your shoulders, your back, your hips. And by checking in with these areas, there's no guarantee that the tension will wash away, but at least we can be a bit more aware. Aware in the sense that we are noticing that there is some tension being carried here. So if tension starts to creep up, it didn't just come from nowhere. And as the body continues to soften and settle, let's center our mind onto our breath. Now, very simply, we do not need to manipulate the breath. So if your breath is a bit shallow, that's okay. If it's a bit hard, no problem. If it's a bit short, no problem. Your breath will become balanced as the practice progresses. However, if you're having some difficulty connecting to your breath, or if you lose connection to your breath, you can deepen your breath. You can take a few sharper breaths, a few harder breaths, so that you can establish a strong connection to breath. And when it does come to your breathing, see where you feel it most clearly. Is it up towards the nose? Feeling the flow of inhales and exhales entering and exiting through the nostrils? Or is it a bit down towards the belly? Just feeling a bit more of that physical sensation, the movement of breath within body. No right or wrong place for the breath to be. Just seeing where you can connect to your breathing. Now, as you continue breathing, as you continue sitting, distractions may come up. You might become distracted by a feeling on your body, an itch, a tingle, an ache. And if it does become quite uncomfortable, address it. But take a moment to just observe it before that happens. Each distraction is an opportunity for you to come back to breathing. Just remind yourself, I am here sitting, I am here breathing. Nothing you need to figure out. No problem needs to be solved. The body is soft, the mind is sharp. And if still you are having difficulty connecting to breath, staying with breath, you do have the choice to count your breath. 1 as you inhale, 1 as you exhale. Inhale for 2, exhale for 2. This does not become a game of counting. It is just a training wheel. It is a support that you can use. For others, the breath can be connected to, but the body may become very soft. So if you need to check in with posture, doing so. Spine long, heart open, chin slightly lifted. And with all of these instructions in mind, can we work with silence? Can we remain still and silent for the next 5 minutes? You do not need to worry about where you will be in 5 minutes. You just need to give your full and undivided attention to each breath as it comes up. Keeping your eyes closed, we can take a few deep breaths as we come to the end of this meditation. Just reconnecting to your body, your senses, the area around you. Maybe rolling out your shoulders, wiggling out your fingers. Just before you open your eyes, we'll bring our palms together to create some heat within our hands. When you do feel ready, allowing for that heat to wash over your face as you take your time to reopen your eyes. So just shy of 15 minutes from initial guidance to now. For some of you, that's probably the first time you've meditated. Any observations, anything to share? How was that window of time? Was it easy to settle into? Was it difficult? Could you work with the mind? Could you find your breath? These are questions that you can ask yourself. Maybe if you have a question, you can voice it. We're all experts. Great. No questions? There's definitely a question somewhere. Somebody, no?
Are you going to do this again?
Well, maybe not, because we all figured it out. Did you find those 15 minutes 15 minutes? Did it feel like 5? Did it feel like 50? There, good. Could the body sit still, or was the body restless? It's expected. We've been sitting for the last hour and a half, and we only got a few minutes to walk around. Some of us wanted a coffee, so energy levels are low. These are all things to expect, right? Some of us probably had an early lunch, and now we're a bit hungry. So these are all factors to consider of what can make a meditation go by smoothly or what can make a meditation feel like forever. Could you find your breath? Could you feel your breath? Could you stay with your breath?
That was an effort.
It's going to be a lot of effort. Did anybody try working with counting? Were you able to get to 10? And that's fine as well. What happens a lot, I've done all of it. I've worked with counting, I've worked with visualizing. I don't use any of that anymore. I try not to. I no longer feel that the training wheels are needed within my personal practice. But yes, you breathe in and you match it to the count of 1. So 1. 1. And you try 2 and 2, 3 and 3, and then get to maybe like 4.5, and who knows where the mind goes. So you start again. Get to maybe 3, 4, 5, you start again. And you don't have to be disheartened, but in Buddhism, they say that we have a monkey mind. And it's not just a monkey mind. I've said this before as well. It's a monkey that's drunk on wine, swinging from vine to vine after being stung by a scorpion. So it has no control over its reactions, over its inhibitions. It's just doing things blindly, out of ignorance because it doesn't know better. And this little monkey mind of ours doesn't stop chattering. Like I said, our job within this practice, not to stop the mind. You don't have to stop it, but you have to watch it. You have to observe it. You have to understand that this mind of yours is going to continue to move. And one of my favorite visual techniques to use or ideas to use is the idea of the train station. It resonates very strongly with me, and maybe this is a good way to leave things with you. When we are working with our meditation practice, the visual that we can use is that we are sitting at a train station. We're sitting at a bench. We're taking a seat at the train station, the platform of the train station. And as we sit in our seat at that platform, at that station, trains are coming and going. One's going one way, one's going the other way. These are the trains of thought. These are the trains of your feelings, the trains of physical sensation, mental sensation. And your job is just to watch the trains, one come in, one go in. They're always coming and going. Busy, busy station. But without you even knowing it, at some point, you're going to get onto a train. You're going to get caught up in a train of thought. The crowd somehow ushers you into the train. And next thing you know, you thought you were on the bench sitting at that train station platform, and next thing you know, you've been swept away on this train. You've gone a few stops, that's okay. The moment you've recognized that you stepped onto the train and got swept away, you take the next exit. And that next exit can come as soon as you take your next breath. And you go back to the station, you sit on the bench, you continue watching. And eventually, trains will move slower, there'll be less trains, but there's no guarantee that each and every day will be the same. Some days, you're gonna have 1,000,000 trains coming, 1,000,000 trains a minute. Other days, maybe a few. Other days may change. They come faster, they come slower, they come in larger numbers, slower numbers. That's just the nature of our mind. That is just the nature of change. Changing, changing, changing. But we have to understand that it is not a bad meditation practice if, there's a lot of trains on one day. The fact that you took the time to sit with all those trains, that's still power to the practice. And over time, you'll develop the wisdom that even if there are 1,000,000 trains coming, that you will not sit on any of those trains. You will not step onto any of those trains. It takes a lot of practice. But my hope is that within this 2-hour window, you've at least had a bit of a reality check with yourself of, understanding that each and every one of you came here for a different reason. And the hope is that you can build a better relationship to these reasons of why you came. You're too busy, you're too tired, you're too this, you're too that. But you still understand that the practice isn't asking for a lot to start. 5 minutes. If you can manage that, great. If you need a bit less, no problem. If you can find more time, great. But then build the habit. You brush your teeth every day. Nothing should be able to stop you from meditating every day. And even if you miss one day, don't beat yourself up over it. Start again the following day. This is how we can work with the meditation practice. This is how we can use the tool that is always with us. You don't have to be anywhere special to meditate. Like I said, you're standing in line. Those inclinations in which you want to pull out your phone. Put the phone in your pocket, take 5 breaths. You're sitting in your car at a red light. Instead of waiting for the red light to turn green, it's going to turn. Take a few breaths. You're sitting at the table at a restaurant. Waiter is busy. They're taking other people's orders. They haven't come to your table. Why create more stress? Why won't that person get here sooner? What's taking them so long? You don't know what's going on. Take a few breaths. There's so many things that we do in our daily life in which we add layers of stress on top of it. And if any of you follow me on Instagram, washing the dishes was one of the main ones that I've talked about. There's 2 ways to wash the dishes. There are people that wash the dishes to clean the dishes, and there are people that wash the dishes to wash the dishes. Person 1 that is washing the dishes to get the dishes cleaned picks up the plate, starts cleaning. But before they're even done cleaning the plate, they look over, they see all of the other plates, cups, utensils, and they're like, oh God, just gotta keep getting it done. I gotta get this done fast so I can move on to the next thing in my day. So they're not even present to the fact that they're cleaning the dish. They're just trying to get it done as soon as possible. And the reality is you're probably not going to get it done that much faster. But then you have person 2, washing the dishes to wash the dishes. They're present with the experience of holding a dish and maybe holding the sponge, of feeling their hand moving on the plate, of hearing the sound of that action being created, of hearing and feeling the water that is pouring forward. They are fully alive for that 1 minute that it may have taken to clean the dish. But you can probably find your own example of some of the simplest things that you do that take maybe just 1 minute, but you may not even be fully alive to that 1 minute. And this meditation practice of ours is to build a very simple connection, to be fully alive 1 moment at a time, 1 breath at a time. The breath is always with you. It will be always with you until you pass away. And it will always reveal truth to you. Every single experience in our life, good or bad, is associated with breath. You're angry, you breathe a certain way. You're happy, you breathe a certain way. You're sad, you breathe a certain way. You feel anxious, you're breathing a certain way. But most of us, we don't know what's happening. The only time the average person becomes aware of their breath is during moments of extreme emotional states, having a panic attack, feeling raging hot anger. Only then are you aware of your breath, but you have no idea what to do because you've never worked with your breath. And so here, when we sit to meditate, we feel the agitation of the mind as it's spinning around from thoughts. And we can slow it down by slowing down and working with the breath. We see how we can so easily slip away by just something that doesn't feel good. The ache in the body. We take it very personally and we slip away from the breath. And all of these tools of coming back to the breath, of not becoming overly attached to these different things, can help us when we then step out the door. When someone cuts you off in traffic today, tomorrow, it's bound to happen, how will you react? You're going to speed up next to them, cuss them out? You can. Is that going to help? Probably not. Other experiences, you can name them yourselves, but it's all about how you respond to these situations, and it responds by checking in with breath. I think we can leave it at that. Thank you all for coming today. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, I'll be around for the next 10, 15 minutes. Otherwise, I have recorded today's lecture and workshop. It'll be on my YouTube channel. Both my YouTube channel and my Instagram page, they're both Nirvana with Nav, Nirvana with Nav. I have a few cards if you have a tough time remembering that, no problem. I'll probably upload this video this weekend. So if there's anything that you want to refer back to, it should be made available. Otherwise, thank you all for coming. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you. Great. Yep.